Sasaki-san. What are you talking about? Brace yourself, little man. I'm talking about the fact that everything's changed. Because of the dirt you dug up. Huh? Enough obscurity. Explain yourself, witness. What's to explain? I'm talking about the poison, of course. Oh, poison? Let's ask the professor for a comment on the situation, shall we? I understand that a deadly poison you are developing was stolen from your laboratory, correct? And it's been shown that this poison was administered to the victim, Miss Brett, is that right? That is correct. The unusual constriction of the victim's pupils are a sure sign that this particular poison was used. I see. So, presumably that means that the victim already had the poison in her body before she was stabbed? Huh? Given that her pupils were clearly constricted, it seems highly likely, yes. If she had been dead already, the poison would not have circulated in her blood. He just wiped the left foot straight off. How refreshing to hear the argument of a metropolitan mind. Precisely. It matters not a jot who stabbed whom and whose back and with whose blade. Because, quite simply, the Englishwoman's life was taken by the knife, but not by the knife, but by the poison. Objection! But that can be explained by the poison being on the blade, as I already... Forgotten already, have we, yokel? During these very proceedings, the laboratory of the professor at your side assisted in proving that the blade of the weapon used to attack the victim had no trace of poison on it whatsoever. So let me get this down. The facts, as skillfully established by the defense in this trial, turn out to be a headline-making red herring. Is that about right? Your pen had poison in it, bruh. Well... Order. But, where does this leave us? How, in that case, did the poison enter the victim's body? There's an undeniably obvious answer to that. The lady most likely imbibed it. Imbibed? You mean she drank it? Have another look at the photograph here. As you can see, a bottle of carbonated water and a glass have been knocked onto the sandy floor of the beach hut. The poison could have been slipped into either. So somebody made Miss Brett drink it. Well, what do you know? Look at those dashing eyes. This will make a great front page shot. Hey, why the bewitching stare? After all, I'm the last person you should be looking at. It would make no sense at all that I poisoned the woman, would it? I mean, that's been established already. Established? What are you talking about? Don't tell me you've forgotten. That's a little hard to believe, given that the person who established it was you. Huh? What on earth does he mean? Oh, let me capture those wide eyes. This is prime press fodder, this is. It would seem that this trial is not destined to end yet, after all. I hereby call upon the witness to give further testimony. Yeah, that's great, that is. Let me get a shot of that magnificent beard, Your Excellency. You claim it to be impossible that you were the one responsible for administering the poison to the victim. You will explain to the court in your testimony the basis upon which you make such a claim. I'm a journo, and I'm a man. I've never tried to run or hide from anything in my life. And I'm not about to start now, because that's For a brief moment, I thought I'd illuminate the truth, but it slipped right back into obscurity again. Just where is this trial going to take us? To the pen with the poison. Oh yes, I stabbed the Englishwoman, and it's that very fact that proves I'm innocent. Because why would I have bothered to stab the woman if I had already poisoned her? When I heard the student girl and that pompous English murderer arguing, it got my goat. Okay, but like, there's laws about intent, like, say you had the intent to murder somebody, and you, like in his case, I'm pretty sure he poisoned her too, but say he didn't, and he stabbed the corpse, thinking it was alive, only to find out it was dead. That doesn't clear him of a crime, right? I don't know, I just feel like, crime. If the courts were going to punish Brett for what she did, someone else would have to see justice done. Well, that was a very short testimony. So, you admit it then, that everything happened as I described. That you are the one who stabbed Miss Brett in the back through the read screen. You can blame this miserable country of ours. A country that bows to the pressure of foreign powers and lets murderers walk free. What kind of future can a country like that have? That's why I did it. I did what our pathetic leaders didn't have the guts to do. Slap bang in the middle of the charming lady's back. I plunged the blade of sweet justice right in there. Okay, bro. Like, maybe don't. I mean, you're not. I'm not defending you. I don't care. Incriminate yourself. Do it. Yeah. Now she's like, witness? As someone who spends his life seeing that the truth is told, I feel really, really awful about giving false information in my testimony before. But as it turns out, there was somebody else who had it in for the victim and got to her before me. That's right, you guessed it. That pretty little student girl. Now there's a woman after my own heart. You're implicating Ray again. She's the one who gave the poison to the Englishwoman and ended her pitiful existence. And suddenly, snap! This journal here is off the hook. The argument is sound, certainly. If the witness had administered the poison himself, he need only to have waited for it to take effect. Subsequently stabbing the victim in the back would have been entirely nonsensical. Well, and therefore this reporter had nothing to do with the poisoning. Yes, it's all quite illogical. That's right, it is. Logical and true. I'm glad you've all seen the light. Justice at last. This is unbelievable. And after I made so much progress in proving his guilt, is he gonna get away with it now? Think of Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san. They never stopped looking for a way forward until the judge's final gavel. Very well then, counsel. Proceed with what I assume to be your final cross-examination in this trial. Yes, Your Excellency. Yeah, we are going to show that you gave her the pen with the poison. You thief. Oh yeah, I stabbed the Englishwoman. And it's that very fact that proves I'm innocent. So, you do admit that you had murderous intentions for towards Miss Brett, then? The woman's very existence offended my sense of justice. Your sense of... He's claiming some sort of righteous indignation? She was pure evil. A cold-blooded killer who committed murder right here on our empire's soil. But did our good-for-nothing government do anything? Not a chance. So I had to step in. Fly the flag of justice. Put things right for the people. Yes, it was my civic duty. That's what drove me to do it. So in summary, murderous intentions. Yeah? Whatever you want to call it. The point is this. The Englishwoman was a blight. So I had to do what was right. For society. Yeah, a real wrong was done by the student girl in the dock. The crime for what she must pay. Obviously, because the poisoning was nothing to do with me at all. Please put that in your testimony, please. Because why would I have bothered to stab her? Oh. So you still maintain that you didn't give the poison to the victim? Obviously. That'd be like putting a belt in your trousers when you were already wearing braces like these. The accused administered the poison, following which this witness stabbed the victim. An unforgivable act, certainly, but not one of murder. That crime rests on the accused's shoulders. That is how the law works, you see, yokel. Who knows? You may even learn something here today. 2 consecutive attempts on her life in the space of minutes. Quite a day for the victim. Do something that evil and you've got it coming. That's how the law works, the law of reckoning. That's not the kind of law this court upholds. You will reiterate why you were compelled to stab the victim, then, witness. Yeah, I would feel less like, I'd be like, oh yeah, no, she totally deserved it, because she did. So if you're trying to, you know, accuse Ray, so no.
Hold it!
What exactly were they arguing about? About what happened in that restaurant 9 months ago. That's what. The student girl was laying into the Englishwoman for killing her beloved mentor, Dr. Wilson. Yes, John H. Wilson. A professor of medicine invited here from England by Professor Mikotoba, no less. Right, but the Englishwoman just jeered. Her case was to be heard by the British Consular Court in Shanghai. However, there was little doubt that she would simply have been acquitted and sent back to her homeland a free woman. It was eating that student girl up inside, you see. I really felt for her. Hold it! Yeah. Oh, hi, Ray. I can't stand here and listen to this tripe. Okay, but Carla, you don't speak up here. Ray, young girl, you stand accused here. You can't just blurt out whenever you feel like it. No, you can't. Sorry, but I'm in the middle of some very important testimony here. Just keep quiet and listen. But this awful man is making all this up. Susato, please, don't say my name. Don't say my name in court. You have to make them listen. Return to the docket at once, Membami-san. We're in the middle of a cross-examination. Your Excellency, please, I implore you. The journalist is clearly not a trustworthy witness. Exactly. He's a filthy, rotten, black-hearted, bigoted, great peeping Tom. Whoa, take it easy there. Please, I really think the court should hear what the defendant has to say. Your Excellency, I see no need whatsoever to entertain the accused's remarks. I will grant the request of the defense. Oh, but Your Excellency... This is likely to be the final cross-examination of these proceedings. As such, I believe it would be ill-advised to stifle the defendant's obvious concerns. So whilst recognizing that this contravenes regular protocol, I hereby call upon the defendant to speak. Oh! Thank you so much, Your Excellency! It was nothing to do with Dr. Wilson. We were discussing the stolen poison.
Hold it!
Sorry, I gotta press you too. The stolen poison that killed the victim, you mean? I suspected her of being the one to steal it. I mean, just think about how she killed Dr. Wilson. That's true. Additionally, Miss Brett certainly had knowledge of the new poison. But surely it'd be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government. Indeed, all visitors to the lab are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult. That's true. Professor Mikotoba, until he agreed to show me the poison. I pestered Professor Mikotoba until he agreed to show me the poison when I visited his lab. As I left, I was searched from top to tail. Miss Brett rather bluntly revealed the existence of the toxin we've been developing, you see. And since Soseki-san expressed such an interest in it, I felt unable to refuse. Obviously, I gave nothing away other than the fact that it was an extremely potent substance. I'm very ashamed of myself. It's just that I've had a singularly terrible experience with the deadly poison. I want to look at my old enemy in the eye. Surely you can understand that. To find out if my suspicions were true, I confronted Miss Brett about the poison. I told her that if there was to be an incident involving it somehow, it wouldn't just be the university. The military would be dragged into it. The whole government even. It would be a complete disaster. And how did Miss Brett respond to your concerns? She just curled those beautiful lips of hers, and she didn't know the first thing about it in English, actually. Ah, yes. Menememo-san, one small question if you don't mind. Do you mind? Can't you see I'm busy? Clearly you're outside the beach hut listening in whilst the defendant, Miss Brett, were conversing. Presumably, then. It was you who wrote this article about what you heard. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Lab. The story was published in this morning's edition of the Shoyu News. The details are too accurate for it to have been written by anyone else. Yeah, sorry. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, look at this! The entire article! It is almost what I said to Miss Pratt word for word. Well, Minamemo-san? As a journo and as a citizen of a free country, I don't have to reveal my sources. That's the founding principle of Minamina. Father's clearly right about this. That reporter did write that article, and he based on what he overheard from outside the hut. Ooh, updated. So that's what it's all about. You're trying to cover up the fact that you were listening in. That's why you came up with that stinking story about me arguing with her. Shut up, my stories never stink. Look, whatever you say, little girl, doesn't alter the facts. Your Excellency, there's something I want to say, and I want it to go on record. Very well, you may amend your formal testimony. The point is, if you poison someone, there'd be no reason to go and stab the person as well. Wait, was that amending? Wait. Was that... Oh no, I didn't mean to hit... Oh, darn it. Okay, I guess that's the amendment. Let's press this.
Hold it!
Perhaps you doubted the efficiency of the poison and sought to make sure your victim would die. That's horse dung. Huh? That would be like pouring pepper in your Chinese ramen before you even tasted it. Completely reckless. Oh, I do that. I mean, not necessarily just Chinese ramen, but like any soup I get, I automatically put black pepper in it. Although, it might surprise you to learn that I'm a bit of an impetuous pepper pour as it happens. Once the victim had taken the poison, she would have only been minutes away from death. And yet, this man then proceeded to stab her in the back as well. There has been a good reason for that. Did he... Because the poison would take minutes, right? You want to make sure that she didn't say anything? Which is why she got stabbed in the lungs? Is that... Oh, sorry, you were talking. What changed? The reporter overheard the conversation between Ray and the Englishwoman. Ah, yeah, that's it. That's when Minamemo-san first found the exact nature of the poison he'd used. This could be the key here. God damn, tell me the answer and I was not listening. Sorry, Dad. So... Let's present this evidence. If you poison someone, there'd be no reason to go stab the person as well. So we gotta find... What is this article, right? Fatal in minutes. Yep, there we go. So let's present that.
Objection!
Well, I can think of one reason. Huh? What? But before I explain, I'd like you to confirm something for the court. Did you glean all the information for this newspaper article from what you overheard outside the hut? Of course he did. There can be no question of that. After all, when we were in the laboratory together, all we were told is that it was a terrible toxin. And there's one more important fact to consider. According to the witness, Minbami-san's verbal attack against the victim began as soon as she entered the hut. In other words, it would have been impossible for her to have slipped the poison in Miss Brett's drink.
Objection!
Where are you going with this, counsel? Minamina has made it quite clear that he observed every single thing that happened in the beach hut. If the defendant had somehow found an opportunity, this man would have seen it. Which means that Miss Brett couldn't have imbibed the poison while the defendant was present. In fact, it must have been administered to her before Miminimin entered the hut. Yes, very articulately put. When I walked into the hut, I immediately started to press Miss Brett about the poison. At which point, Miniminimina overheard some worrying information. Worrying information? What worrying information? The information which he subsequently included in his newspaper article, namely, that the poison was being developed in a strict secrecy, and that it couldn't be readily attained. Absolutely. In fact, that's quite an understatement. The only possible place it could come from is my lab. And furthermore, anyone afflicted by this poison would exhibit telltale signs in death. The extreme constriction of the pupils. Yes, it's quite stark when you see it. There are other poisons that show similar symptoms, but not among new substances that are undetectable. In other words, it'd be clear that the victim's life had been ended by the use of this particular poison, which would reduce the number of suspects to only a handful of people. Ah! Everyone in my lab is aware of the unique properties of the toxin we've been developing. None of them would be foolish enough to attempt to use it on some nefarious deed, Minimina being no exception. Therefore, we can conclude that whoever administered this unique poison to the victim was a layperson, unaware of its telltale properties. In other words, someone like you, Latin minimum. Gugh. It was you who stole the poison from the lab that day, and it was you who administered it to the unwitting victim. But you quickly realized that it was a terrible mistake, because the poison caused such unusual symptoms and was so traceable. I love this music. As you listen in from the far side of the beach hut's thin walls, you learned these facts. But you already had given the victim the poison at that point. It was too late. So you hatched a plan to disguise your mistake. A plan that involved stabbing the victim in the back through the reed screen.
Objection!
Oh, but what good would that possibly do? Isn't it obvious, Counsel? The plan was to kill Miss Brett before the poison could take effect. Once in the blood, the poison carries the onset of pupil constriction. But he had hoped to precipitate the victim's death before that happened, hadn't he? Exactly. Because without revealing signs of the new secret poison's use, no one would have ever suspected. This is extraordinary. Yes, the effects of the poison meant it would be too easily identified, so the killer had to mask its use. She attempted to do by plunging a knife into the middle of the victim's back. Order, order, order. The argument presented is sound. The court is satisfied that it warrants consideration. Does the prosecution have a counter-argument it wishes to put forward? There are a number of... yes, I counter completely.
Objection!
The prosecution's evasive response clearly shows that in much the same way he nurtures the remnants of his topknot, he's clinging to lost hope. Lost hope? You're playing dirty. Oh, are you okay? Oh, like, eat your hat. You pathetic, useless, fallen samurai. Oh, fallen? Who are you calling fallen? My burgeoning... I don't need a counter-argument. Huh? What are you talking about? It should be blatantly obvious. I stole the poison, you say. Gave it to the victim, you say. Stabbed her, you say. Lots of fine theories. But I don't need a counter-argument because you don't have an argument yourself. Where is your evidence? Yes, you make it all sound so plausible, don't you? But without evidence, it means nothing. Whereas I base my news on facts. Facts? What do you mean? Explain yourself. I mean, what the professor said earlier in this trial. It's all here in my many memos, every word, every slip of the tongue, all noted. It's what Show You News is famous for. It's the power of the printed word. It should really be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government. Indeed, all visitors thoroughly search when they leave. But put it in the pen. We know what's in the pen. It's in the pen with your name on it. Me. How's that then? Blown the story wide open. See? I'd written in a memo. I'm a reporter for the Shoyu News. Couldn't possibly have stolen that poison from the professor's laboratory. Blah. We need a chiropractor after this. But there can't be any question of it. He must have stolen the poison that day. He stole it and used it to kill. And if that's the case, as you've identified, the poison itself is definitive evidence we need. Because whoever stole it from the laboratory that day is a true culprit here. What's your point, you annoyingly handsome country bumpkin? My point is this. There's one way that you, could have stolen the poison that day. I've heard enough verbal conjecture now, thank you. What the court must be shown is evidence. What proof do you have that this witness stole the poison on the day in question? The pen! The pen! The pen!
Take that!
The proof, Your Excellency, is this fountain pen. A fountain pen? How can that possibly be relevant? These magical pens somehow seem to have enough ink to write many thousands of kanji characters. I believe they arrived in our country for the first time some 15 years ago now. Bah, I swear by a weasel hair calligraphy brush and nothing else. These newfangled pens are merely a fad. Well, as a forward-thinking man of words, obviously I love my fountain pen. I have a Sharpie pen. It's my favorite thing in the world. Suck up a soup can of sumptuous ink, and one's work is awash with words in the blink of an eye. That's right. Fountain pens have a small reservoir in the barrel, into which the ink is sucked up through the nib of the pen in order to write with later. What does all this talking of sucking up ink have? Uh-oh. And just as it's possible to suck ink into the reservoir, it's also possible to eject it through the nib again, of course. My word. Can this really be? Well, when you saw the deadly poison before your eyes in the laboratory that day, you used your fountain pen, your very lifeblood, to steal some of it, didn't you? By siphoning the poison up through the nib and into the pen's reservoir.
Objection!
More absurdity. That never happened. True. We've heard that there were procedures in place to prevent thefts like this in the laboratory. Would anyone have thought to look inside a fountain pen of all places? No. I'm a little ashamed to say that for fear of offending our guests, such a detailed search would have not been conducted. Well, this is quite startling, I must say. I remind the court that this pen was found in the clutches of the victim when she died. In other words, it was dropped at the scene by Minna. So the crucial question is, when exactly was the pen dropped? Are you suggesting? The natural conclusion is that your haste to act whilst the victim was distracted for a moment. You dropped the pen after you emptied the poison from it into her glass.
Objection!
Well, there could be any number of alternative explanations. For example, the witness could have been using his pen to write down details. No, that can't be. If it was, how do you explain why the pen was devoid of ink? What? As you can see for yourself if you examine the evidence, there would appear to be no ink present in the reservoir. What newspaper reporter goes to interview someone with nothing in his pen? No. This pen was dropped after the poison that filled his reservoir had been emptied into the victim's glass. What? Witness, what do you have to say in your defense? So this is how our modern justice system works, is it? So what if the ink in my pen runs dry? So what if my pencil snaps? I can always claw my way back up into the game. I have plenty in reserve. only one pen, huh? Oh, you struck those. Ugh. You claim I sucked the poison up into my pen? This is wild speculation, nothing more. If you thought you could bring down a fine upstanding citizen with a trick like that, think again. Looks as though it's going to take one final decisive blow to finish this matter. As I see it, the situation is now very simple. It rests upon whether or not this witness did indeed steal the poison on the day in question. And therefore, it all depends upon whether or not the defense can prove that he did it with evidence. Huh. No such evidence could possibly exist. This is how our modern justice system works. What? In the courtroom, evidence is everything. Something you would do very well to remember. Because we are well past the point of speculation at this stage, I assure you. Very well then. I call upon the defense to present the aforementioned evidence. This is it then. This will be the final piece of the puzzle. The defense can prove by means of this item that it was the witness's pen that was used to steal the poison. Beep, 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 beep. Ding!
Take that!
Counsel, what is that bottle? This bottle contains a unique chemical reagent that can identify the poison in question. Yes, that poison is an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids developed by my colleagues and I. It would be impossible to detect traces of it by any other method. Or, from another perspective, simply with this chemical reagent, anybody at all could check for traces of the poison. Reagent? What? One drop of the contents of this bottle on the tip of your fountain pen, is all that will take to solve this case beyond all reasonable doubt. No, you can't. I won't. Your crimes are bad enough, but at least know when to admit defeat. Your Excellency, the defense requests permission to carry out the test on the fountain pen at once. Well, no, just for your camera. This isn't my fault. The Empire drove me to this. Blah, 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 trying to hold... Blah, blah, I took up arms to the form of the mighty pen. I fought tirelessly in the battle for the news. Name of justice, righteous... Susato, with me. I'm there. Yeah! I love them. Did I do it right? That was the Susato takedown, wasn't it? Not quite. That was a Ryotaro takedown. The instant the first drop of the reagent touched the nib of the fountain pen, it was clear to everyone present. Aww. Again, I'm not mad at you for murdering Miss Brett. Like, she deserved it. But you tried blaming the girl, Ray. When I saw it there in the lab, the poison, the devil got a hold of me and I decided to do it on a whim. I excused myself and emptied all the ink down the sink in the bathroom, washing the reservoir out carefully. And then you waited for an opportunity to suck some up of the poison, didn't you? Into your fountain pen. Yes, that's right. Answer me one thing, Mana. Why did you steal it? For what purpose? Isn't it obvious? To find out what it was made of and to expose it in an article. I mean, it was a secret project after all. Too juicy for a journal like me to pass up. Well, then, why did the Englishwoman end up dead? I went to the hut intending to quiz her on their situation, that's all. As a reporter, a known killer enjoying full freedom, evading justice by leaving the country. I told her what I thought about it. And she just laughed in my face. Oh, what's this? A Firestone caveman purporting to practice journalism? Really? You must know the difference between reporting and listening at doorways, you ignorant plebeian. What did you just call me? This country, with its pretensions to a justice system, to a free press, it's really very depressing. You see, our superior ways in the West, yet you lack the mental capacity to emulate them. Get out of here, you oaf. Get out and crawl back into the cave you came from. Stab her again, Minna. Again, I get it. That's when I remembered. About the deadly poison I happened to have in my pen at the time. What a terrible tale. In my head, I knew I should just get out of there as quickly as possible, but I couldn't. I couldn't let her get away with what she'd done, when she clearly had no remorse at all. I suppose it was my journal spirits, getting all fired up. I'd like to ask you something. Yeah? You often talk about justice. But surely as a journalist, you could have used other means to deliver the justice you sought. There's no justice in the press. Huh? Sorry? After that trial 9 months ago, I kept digging and digging to find out what happened in that courtroom. And finally I discovered the truth. It was a cover-up, that's what it was. A cover-up? What do you mean? I would remind you of your position, witness. Be careful about what you say. Oh, come on. Doesn't it strike you as strange? We're suddenly not allowed to convict a foreign national? Consular jurisdiction should never have come into it. And yet that puffed-up Englishwoman was going to sail away into the sunset a free woman. The only possible explanation is that behind the scenes, some deal had gone down between Britain and Japan. What sort of deal? I've done my research, dug up all the dirt. It was all ready to be published. But you know what happened? The editor just tore the article up. He came under the pressure from the government, you mean? If our government is going to let criminals walk free, if they're going to crush the free press, then what choice do I have but to see that justice is done myself? Let's not forget, Minna, that you committed murder yourself, and you tried to lay blame at the defendant's door. I'm sorry, but you're no better than Giselle Brett. What? The truth is, you have no right to talk about justice at all. I suppose. Oh. It would appear that we have reached a conclusion in this trial at last. Counsel for the defense? Ryutaro Naruhodo. Yeah, that's definitely me. Right, yeah, Sorry, Your Excellency. Just musing in a manly way over here. You know, like men do. Manly men. It's almost unbelievable that this is your first experience at the Supreme Court. It was an excellent performance. In truth, it very much reminded me of your cousin's exploits. Oh, Ryunosuke, you mean? The way you handled the trial 9 months ago, and the way you handled this one, it gives me hope that we are genuinely entering a new era of justice in this land. That's very flattering, Your Excellency. Hearing the defense you put forward today made me feel almost keenly that the future of our justice system will be forged by you and your contemporaries. Thank you. So, Prosecutor Ouchi, do you have any final thoughts? What is this? What is that? A blade? Prosecutor? No. No. No, sir. I know what samurais do. Don't do that. I, Togeshi of the Ouchi clan, have been bested by a callow youth not once now but twice. If there was any shred of my former self left, it was withered and died here today. Your journey to cultural enlightenment sure took a while, didn't it? Silence! Or rather than living on in shame. I will end it now with this blade. That is a true path of altruism. Altruism? One hopes that the only way that in which he'd be modeling himself after the witness. No. Spriga, my top knot. Oh, he's gonna chop off his top knot. The time is right for a farewell. Hope is lost forever. He made a quote himself. It's off in the wind. Oh. I was like, are we thoughts and prayers for him? Hey Judge, can I get that not guilty now? Now, in regard to the defendant, Rei Membami-san. Yes, Your Excellency. I have reached my final verdict. I hereby find you not guilty. Court is adjourned. It's over. My heart is still pounding at my chest, though. It's all I can do to just stay standing. Lawyers have such a great responsibility, such a great burden to bear. And these very lawyery, not steampunky outfits. Wait, I'm sorry. When did we get a little rat companion? Don't they, Naruhodo-san? Susato, Susato! Thank you. Thank you so very much. You were dashing in there. Rei and Father. Honestly, I'm so touched by everything you've... Oh no. I think I'm gonna cry. It wasn't easy, but together we made it. I was on the verge of tears at the end too. The only reason I'm still here is because of you. Oh no, I can't take all the credit. It took courage to tell the truth in there. You did wonderfully, Rei. So I would have to say that the congratulations belong to you. Susato, don't be so standoffish. Sorry? We're friends, equals, and the trial's over. So no more of this formal super humility nonsense. It's time to celebrate with swagger, to throw caution into wind. Let's hold hands. To be crucial a little, it's Pride Month. Caution to the... what? I am the great defense layer, Ryotaro Naruhodo. And I'm taking you out to a milk bar tomorrow. Or something. Right, I see. I'll think about it, right? At any rate, I really knocked the wind out of that horrid man, and it felt so good. Yeah, it was satisfying. It really was. Isn't there anybody else we could throw together? I hope you're not looking at me, Rei. Oh my goodness! Of course not, of course not! There it is at last. Rei's lovely smile. You fought for your friend to the very last. As your father, I'm extremely proud of you. Defense Attorney Ryotaro Naruhodo. Thank you, but I couldn't have done it without your help. Anyway, it's time to bid farewell to Ryotaro, I think. I shall miss him in a way, but it's back to Susato Mikotoba now. So, I'll never see him again then. What a terrible shame. Huh? What is happening? Saseki-san, Inspector Osanaga. I do hope you've been keeping well? Is that really you? Yeah. I had to change my appearance for, well, obvious reasons, I hope, but it's me. Susato Mikotoba. I don't. So dashing, so divine. No. Doubly dashing, yes. And devilishly divine. Just look at— oh no, you're bleeding again. Just look at you. I had no idea, Mrs. Otto-san, Esquires, that you were locum student Naruhodo-san's Esquire cousin? Astonishing, astounding, ace attorney! Aw. Poor Saseki-san. So confused. I still remember the first time I ever met him. He was in a prison cell in London. What an extraordinary conundrum it was that the unwitting student from Japan found himself embroiled in. But after Naruhodo-san's skillful defense of the Old Bailey, Saseki-san was free to return to Japan. And now he seems to have earned himself great fame as an author. I'm stunned. That was a truly impressive disguise. Even I had no idea. I'm the chief inspector of the police bureau, who came up with Mr. Turtle, no less. I'm not sure you should be admitting to that, Inspector. Amazing. You're a woman of many faces, I see. Just two, really. And this is a once-in-a-lifetime event, I hope. Oh, I'm not a patch on you, though, Inspector. Well, I'm a professional, of course. I do worry about Inspector Hosonaga sometimes. I really do. 9 months ago, when he appeared here at the Supreme Court to testify, he was undercover disguised as a head waiter of a restaurant. And then on the steamship to Great Britain, of course, disguised as a sailor to keep us safe on the journey. Though that didn't help you, did it, Kazuma-sama? From my perspective, I have to admit that I have mixed feelings about all this. I mean, now the truth has been lost forever. What do you mean? I'm talking about the murder that the Englishwoman committed at the end of last year. Ah, yes. It was an English doctor she killed, as I understand it. Dr. John H. Wilson, yes. The man I invited to Japan personally. The mystery is, why did she kill him? And now that the culprit herself is dead, we'll probably never know the answer. Clockman. It was a guy with, like, birds, right? I don't remember his name, but it's him. On the voyage to the Great Britain, we had a most unexpected encounter. And Mr. Sherlock Sholmes, the great detective, I mean. Yes, I remember Sholmes well, of course. Ah, my arch-nemesis. How lightly you utter his name. Well, according to the stories published about him in the Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes, the detective once had a partner who helped him solve crimes. A best friend. And that man was an exceptional doctor of medicine by the name of John H. Wilson. What? Dr. Wilson? I just can't believe that's a coincidence. I think of the English doctor of medicine killed here in Japan 9 months ago. Must have been the friend and partner of Mr. Sholmes. And if that's really true, then the poor girl won't ever see her beloved father again. As you know, I traveled to Great Britain once myself to study. It was around the time you were born. Yes, grandmother told me about it. On return to Japan, I took up my professorship at the Imperial Yume University. But I also serve another role as an advisor to the government on diplomatic affairs. Yes, I was aware of that as well. In that case, I'm sure you understand that there are some confidential matters I cannot divulge to you. I guess. Could you tell me, like, one thing? Why did you summon me back to Japan? It's been 2 months now since I returned. And the last person you summoned to Japan got murdered, so, you know, curious. When I left England, it was because of an urgent telegram that had arrived from Japan. I said that you collapsed with a high fever, and you were growing weaker by the day. Where did that news come from? That's what I'd like to know, because after that long sea voyage, I found you in fine health, Father. Was there something in Great Britain that you perceived might inconvenience me in some way, or harm me? That's really the only explanation I could think of. Dear me, do you reserve your most cutting glares for your father, Susato? I'm sorry, my dear. I simply let me go. So, one throw wasn't enough for you? I got one last thing to say before they take me away, Professor. Me? I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on. In that visiting student's fate. Visiting student? Giselle Brett, you mean? No, not her. The student of law who left for Great Britain 8 months ago. Student of law? He must mean... Kazuma-sama! What are you talking about? What does any of this have to do with Kazuma-sama? Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know that guy never made it to England, that he died on that steamship. And that he'll never... Oh. Hey, Judge. Thanks. I mean, not thanks, he's gonna tell me something. Well, I didn't expect to find him in here. What are you officers playing at? Terribly sorry, Your Excellency. Gotta say, but the judge is kind of embarrassing. I was coming to tell you that the rickshaw has arrived, Yushin. It's a good job. It's a good job I came by. Yes, thank you for dealing with him. And I'll be there shortly. Your Excellency? Ha ha ha. Trial's over. I'm not Your Excellency anymore. Merely your father's friend, Sashiro Shigoku. And may I say that since I last saw it. Okay. And may I say that since I saw you last, you seem to have taken a more dashing appearance. Susato. Did you know all along? From the start of the trial? The judge sees everything, Susato. Aside from the evidence that I keep putting in your face all the time. I couldn't let you take the risk. If Sashiro here hadn't known and he had recognized you. So I had a word in his ear beforehand, as an old friend. So, Sashiro, shall we? Yes. Having ruled on that case, we now have various diplomatic issues to address. Before you go, Father. Sorry, my dear. We shall return to our earlier conversation at a later date. Well done again, both of you. You did admirably. Oh, thank you very much. What did you think of my Sashiro sling, eh? It's been a while since I sent a man flying like that. Ha 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 ha. Whatever could Father be hiding from me? About Giselle Brett, about Dr. Wilson. And now it seems, according to the reporter, about Kazuma-sama. I'm going to have to bring this up with Father sometime, when nobody else is around. Judicial Assistant Mikotaba-san, Esquires? Could I have a word? Oh, of course, Sasaki-san. What is it? I think perhaps it'd be fate that we're meeting again like this. You see, there's something I need to tell you. Huh? Why does everyone need to tell me something? I believe that it may be related to the reason why your father summoned you back from England. This I have to hear. Please, Sasaki-san, tell me at once. I will. As you know, my time in England was terrible. Cursed, I have no doubt. Such awful things I was embroiled in. Thank goodness locum student Naruhodo-san Esquire stepped in. After he secured my freedom, I couldn't wait to get on a ship back here to my homeland. Having arrived in Japan, I submitted a report about my experiences on the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The next thing I knew, I had a visitor. It was your father, Professor Mikotoba. He wanted to ask me all sorts of things about my report. My father? He seemed to be especially taken with a particular part of the report. Anyway, he left eventually, having thoroughly quizzed me. It was the very next day that he sent a telegram to AU asking me to return to Japan. What was it then? the particular part my father was interested in. I don't really know exactly. But do you remember them? Those 2 terrible cases I was caught up in? Of course, I can never forget. Yeah, I definitely remember your case. For sure. There was a cat, right? Your father seemed to concern himself mainly with the second case. The second one? You mean... the one Mr. Sholmes forbade any of us to talk about in public? Which is why the only case involving you that any member of the public is aware of is the first. Well, I don't care. I just listen to what the dastardly detective says. Anyway, the point is, it seems that case somehow holds the key to all these curious unanswered questions. The horrific, hideous, heinous case. The case of the haunted lodgings. That case somehow caused my father to summon me urgently back to Japan? I thought that whole business was over, but it seems I was wrong. Perhaps that was only the start. Perhaps the story is not yet told. Is that the end of this chapter? Ooh, cutscene.
So, the mystery of that English woman's death is solved, thank goodness. And having stood in the Supreme Court now, I think I can comprehend a little better. How you must be feeling as you fight for people's freedom in a foreign land, Naruhodo-san. But actually, I'm writing to you today because of another matter. I met Soseki-san and we talked about that second case he was involved in. Father has said nothing to me, but I feel certain of it. That case holds the key to some great unsolved mystery.
And we're gonna solve the mystery.
My notes on the case should still be in the office, tucked away at the back of the shelves on the left. Perhaps you might like to look over them again. Today, for the first time this year, it feels as though summer has arrived. The sky is a brilliant blue. It makes me long to see you again. Yours, Susato.
Oh, but I'm curious. I want to solve. I need to know what happened to Kazuma. Well, anyway, hey, an achievement. That ends chapter 1. See you later for chapter 2. Bye.